So we have to discuss from second unit of this class political thought of G.W.F. Full name George William Frederick Hegel. G.W.F. His political thought focusing specifically on his theory of state and the relationship between the state and the individual needs to be studied by students of political science. Why should we study the political thought of Hegel? What is the importance of this thinker in the history of a political thought? What is his contribution? So far as the importance or significance of this thinker is concerned, Hegel, he is acknowledged to the world over academicians and students of political science as the father of political idealism. This is his importance. His status in the galaxy of political thinkers is that he happens to be, or he is acknowledged to be, the father of a political idealism. Just as in case of Bentham, we told that we study Bentham because he is acknowledged as the father of a political utilitarianism. That is his significance, his contribution. Similarly, in case of G.W.F. Hegel, we study the political thought because he is acknowledged, he is considered the father of a political idealism, idealist political philosopher. He is acknowledged as the greatest of idealist political thinkers. But here, this term of father of a political idealism must not be misconstrued, must not be misunderstood. Because so far as the idealist political philosophy is concerned, yes, it commences with Plato in 5th century history. Plato is considered to be the founding father of political idealism. But his political idealism is different from Hegel's political idealism. Hegel is different from Plato. What and how? So far as Plato's political idealism is concerned, it is naturalistic political idealism. This is the significance, distinctiveness of Plato's political thought and his contribution. Plato is acknowledged as the founding father of naturalistic political idealism. Because the idealist philosophy, political philosophy, concerning state and state-individual relationship is derived and deduced by Plato from nature. Nature is the source. Nature is the motivating factor in inducing or motivating Plato to think on the state and state-individual relationship in idealist manner. What a state should be, or what a state ought to be, what are its ideal features, what would be the ideal pattern of relationship between the state and the individual, Plato has conceptualized and presented as a theory, as a model, in his writings, but the source from which he has derived his ideas is nature. And therefore Plato is acknowledged as the father of naturalistic political idealism. But Hegel is not. Hegel is considered and acknowledged as the father of political idealism in totally different sense of the term. Because the source of Plato and source of Hegel in designing an idealist theory of state is different. In case of Plato, it is nature. Nature is the source. Nature is the motivating factor. But in case of Hegel, it is not nature, but it is divine. Therefore, G.W.F. Hegel, so far as modern political philosophy is concerned, modern Western political thought is concerned, is considered as the father of political idealism in definistic sense of the term. Rather, he may be considered as the father of definistic political idealism. An ideal theory of state, an ideal pattern of state-individual relationship has been presented by Hegel, tracing his inspiration to the divine, not to nature. So, though both Plato and Hegel are idealist political thinkers, have presented their theory of state in an idealist way, emphasizing upon what a state ought to be, what ought to be the state-individual relationship. Yet the source of inspiration, the source of influence, the motivating factor are totally different. Therefore, in the right sense of the term, Plato may be considered as the father of naturalistic political idealism. Whether in the modern period, so far history of political thought is concerned, Hegel is to be considered as the father of divinistic political idealism. An ideal theory of state, an ideal pattern of state-individual relationship has been conceptualized, designed, and presented by Hegel, tracing the source to the divine. This is the importance. So, a divine theory of state, a divine theory of origin of state, a divine theory of nature of state, a divine theory of end of the state, a divine theory of structure of government, functions of government, state-individual relationship have been conceptualized and presented coherently as a theory, ideal theory of state by G.W.F. And because he is acknowledged as the father of divinistic political idealism, we are to study his political thought for obtaining inspiration in designing our political life, for realizing the goal of best political existence on earth. That is the very purpose of it. Why we study political thought? The ultimate objective, the ultimate goal is to lead the best political life, to organize the best political life on this earth. So these are the different models with the various things that are given. But from Plato onwards, till date, political thinkers have engaged themselves in designing theories of state, models of state. Why? What is the purpose? To provide mankind the opportunity to make a selection in between the different models presented for realizing the ultimate goal of the best political existence of this earth. That is the only purpose of it. That is the utility of thought, the relevance of thought to mankind as a whole and to students of political science in particular. So here in the history of a political thought, we are to study the political thought of G.W.F. because he is acknowledged as the father of divinistic political idealism. This is his importance. Who was this great man? Who was this great political thinker? What was his nativity? What are significant writings that he produced in which we come across his model of state? G.W.F. Hegel, by nativity, was a German political philosopher. By nativity, he was born in Germany. During the time in which he was born and in which he lived, there was no united state of Germany that we find today in world history. G.W.F. Hegel was born in the year 1778. In the state of Prussia. It is in this state, in the German land, G.W.F. Hegel was born in the year 1770. But he was a German by nativity. Even if there was no united kingdom of Germany or united state of Germany. The kingdom of Prussia, the state of Prussia, was the heartland of the German land. By language, G.W.F. Hegel spoke German language, wrote in German language. Just as Rousseau wrote in French, Machiavelli wrote in Latin, Italian. So every European thinker used his own native language to write, to conceptualize, to design a theory of state and to present it to the world. And here Hegel was a German political philosopher born in the state of Prussia, German state of Prussia, in 1770. During his childhood and during his adolescence, he was educated in Christian theology. In the religion of Christianity, he was educated. Because it was intended that G.W.F. Hegel would serve the Christian church as a father, as a priest. That was the initial objective of life of G.W.F. Hegel during his childhood and adolescence. But when he grew up, became an adult, he was not interested in the practice of Christian religion. He became more interested in Christian philosophy, religious philosophy, or theological philosophy. So during adulthood, he was educated, he got himself educated in philosophy, especially religious philosophy. Philosophy relating to Christian religion. And during his studentship, he came under tremendous influence of two great intellectuals of his time. One was the German philosopher, and another one the Dutch philosopher. The German philosopher was Immanuel Kant. And the second one was the Dutch philosopher Benedict de Spinoza. These two philosophers cast tremendous intellectual influences on the G.W.F field. In the process of his pursuits in undertaking the study of theological philosophy. And these two philosophers, Immanuel Kant and Benedict de Spinoza, these two philosophers were very critical of the practice of Christian religion then. They protested against the Catholicity and orthodoxy of Christian religion. Because in the 18th and 19th century, Protestantism in Christian religion was on the rise. So the Catholicity of Christian religion was protested. The defects of Catholic Christian religion was brought about and focused. That was the tendency of the time in 18th and 19th century, during the time in which Hegel lived. So both this Immanuel Kant and Spinoza, they were against the Catholicity and orthodoxy of Christian religion. And they had a distinctive view on God and the universe, as different from the Catholic belief systems. This is see how religion has played a significant role in conditioning the intellectual pursuits of an individual. This Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, propagated the philosophy of transcendental idealism. And Spinoza propagated the philosophy of pantheism. These are the essence of the teachings and the belief systems of these two great philosophers of the time, who influenced G.W.F. Hegel very significantly in conditioning his intellect and his thinking process. So far as Kant's philosophy of transcendental idealism is concerned, Kant propagated that God is universal consciousness and God is present in each and everything in this universe. This is transcendental idealism. What do we mean by the term idealism? First understand it. We call it ideal, idealistic, idealism. What does it actually mean? This is not concept. This is not idea. This is capital idea. And what is this capital idea means? From who is the word idealism, idealist philosophy is derived. Capital idea always means consciousness. Consciousness, the living entity. So God was considered by Immanuel Kant as universal consciousness. The God is therefore the idea, capital idea, or that is idealism. Consciousness of the individual. And that consciousness of the individual is the gift of God. God is consciousness, is present in each and everything in this universe. This philosophy of God, this concept of God, this idea of God, was not accepted then by the Orthodox Christian Church. But Immanuel Kant propagated it. This German philosopher drew the attention of the people and intellectuals, influenced this G.W.F. Hegel to a very extreme. Similarly, Benedict Spinoza, this Dutch philosopher, also protested against the Catholicity of Christian religion. And a similar philosophy has been propagated by him, what is known as the philosophy of pantheism. That God is universal. God is immanent in everything. Therefore, God is therefore formless, because His consciousness, God is formless. It doesn't have a form, doesn't have any state. So these two teachings of these two great philosophers of the time on God and the universe and the creations in God influenced G.W.F. Hegel significantly when he undertook his study of religious philosophy. And coming under the influence of these two great philosophers of the world, then living, G.W.F. Hegel wrote a number of books on religious philosophy, which also deal with political philosophy as well, on state and state individuals. And in that context, you may take note of a few important books of G.W.F. Hegel. One is the phenomenology of mind. Another one is the philosophy of law. The philosophy of right. The philosophy of history. These are four great works produced by G.W.F. during his adulthood. When he became interested in religious philosophy, undertook a study of it, and came under the influence of Spinoza as well as and because of his writings, the name and fame of G.W.F. Hegel rose so high in Europe that he was acknowledged as a great political thinker, socio-political thinker of his time. And he was appointed initially in the University of Heidelberg of Germany as the professor of philosophy. University of Heidelberg. And subsequently in the University of Berlin. He was appointed as Professor of Philosophy. Served these two universities for a long time, almost till his death. And he died in 1831. This is the life story. So the life story of G.W.F. Hegel is not useful for you for the purpose of examination. In writing answers in the examination hall, it is important for you for understanding the influence on his writings, why he wrote so. What is the influencing factor, motivating factor behind his theory of state, which interests us most as students of ethics? When we devote ourselves to a study and analysis of Hegel's political thought on a state and state-individual relationship, we must have in mind the influence of Spinoza, influence of Immanuel Kant, and this spatial aptitude and attitude of G.W.F. Hegel towards religion and religious philosophy. That is important for us. We are not at all concerned with his life process. We are concerned with the motivating factors, influencing factors, so far as his writings and contributions are concerned, in the context of pervasive of his theory of state, or modern state. And his modern state will come across in these four works: the phenomenology of mind, philosophy of law, philosophy of rights, and philosophy of history. And that modern state of G.W.F. Hegel may be termed as the model of the divine state. So as students of political science in general, and students of political thought, Western political thought in particular, we are concerned with Hegel's model of the divine state for the purpose of study and analysis. And to understand the contributions that Hegel makes through this model state of the divine state. So far as this model state of Hegel is concerned, the divine state, it is also founded on its basic assumption on human nature. This is the foundational concept. The foundational concept of Hegel, so far as his model state is concerned, is his concept of human nature. And what is his basic concept? Postulate of human nature, belief on human nature. Hegel believes that man is essentially a divine being. This is the basic assumption, belief of G.W.F. that man is essentially a divine being. So human being is understood and viewed by Hegel as a divine being, as a divine creation. And it is on such a concept that a model state is built by him, and therefore his model state is called as the divine state. Foundation is divine, therefore the superstructure must be divine. Just as in case of Bentham had noted, foundation is utilitarian. Man is viewed by Bentham as a utilitarian being, and therefore his model state is utilitarian state. Similarly, in case of Hegel, the founding concept is divine. Man is considered by Hegel as a divine being essentially. That is the essence of man, he says. And consequently, the state that he builds, the type of relationship between state and the individual that he conceptualizes must be characterized by divinity. As is man, so is the state. This is the guiding principles of political thought. Whether it is Plato or Aristotle, whether it is Machiavelli or Hobbes or Rousseau, whether it is Bentham, whosoever it may, and Hegel is no exception. The guiding principle is, the guiding assumption is, as is the man, so is the state. State is for man. So state must be modern, state must be designed, state must be structured on the basis of the nature of man. State exists for the man, for human beings. And in Hegel's case we find that his basic assumption on human nature is that man is essentially a divine. It bears the tremendous impact of his religious perception, religious philosophy, that he has formed in himself, coming under the tremendous influence of Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher of the time, as well as Benedict de Spinoza, the Dutch philosopher. These two great philosophers of the time. And why? Why he considers man as a divine being? This concept of human nature of G.W.F. Hegel is essentially a derivative of his belief in God and the universe. So for understanding Hegel's concept of human nature, that man is essentially a divine being, we must understand his belief on God, on universe, on divine creations. And this concept of G.W.F. Hegel is what is broadly subsumed as his philosophical ideology. Hegel's philosophical idealism is his concept, his belief, his assumption on God, on universe, and on divine creations. And why does he, or his concept on God, universe, and divine creations is called as his philosophical idealism? As I already told you, here idealism refers to consciousness. Consciousness of the entire creations. It's a philosophy which believes in presence of consciousness. What is the truth in the universe? It is consciousness, says G.W.F. Whatever we see in this universe, any object contains consciousness. Why? Because all these are the creations of God. Who has created it? Who has created the entire universe? Who is the creator? Who is the source of creation? And Hegel says it is God. So God is the source of entire universe, the source of creation of this entire universe. And what is that God? Who is that God? According to Hegel, God is the ultimate reality of this universe. The ultimate reality of this universe is God. But that God, the ultimate reality of this universe, is present not in any form, but in consciousness. This is universal consciousness. So Hegel calls God as universal consciousness. God is formless, He doesn't have any form, any shape. But He is consciousness. It is a consciousness. It manifests as consciousness, present as consciousness. And that consciousness is the ultimate reality, and therefore it is the idea. It is the only truth in this universe. Everything in this universe is false. Only truth in the entire universe is God, that universal consciousness. And therefore He is real. The ultimate reality is God. Because the ultimate truth, the final truth, the only truth is God. Everything, why? Why? God is the only truth. Because God remains permanent. God is not merely universal. God is eternal. God is unchangeable. God is indestructible. God is not subject to death. God is not subject to destruction or decline. God is eternal, remains permanent. God is present. God is therefore omnipresent. It is present always. It is present in each and everything in this universe. Whatever we see in this universe, whatever objects we see, is the creation of God. Nothing has been found in this world, in this universe, without the will of God. You can experience it in your own mind's eye. For at night, you go to a field, lonely field, sleep on the grass, look at the sky. Who has created this universe? Who has created the stars and the planets? Do human beings have created? No. Who has created this entire universe? Who is therefore the ultimate creator? It is God. There is only one reality, one truth. It is God who has created whatever we see, whatever we find in this entire universe. All human beings, all plants, animals, stones, all inanimate things in this universe. Whatever we see, all these are the creations of God. And in every creation of God, there is consciousness. The universal consciousness is present in each and everything of its creation. Without God, nothing can exist. You are living as a living entity, working because of the presence of God, that consciousness in you. The moment the consciousness goes out, you are dead. You are subject to death and destruction. Every moment you change your life. Every moment, biological process changes. From birth till death, you go on changing every moment of your life. Maybe unconsciously, maybe without any awareness. But changes take place always. Changes take place always in everything in this universe. And nothing is permanent here. But what is permanent is only God, that universal consciousness, that the creator who has created this universe. And therefore Hegel says that the ultimate reality of this universe is God, and God is present in universal consciousness. God is omnipresent in each and every of his creations. And God, that universal consciousness, is not subject to change, it is indestructible, it is universal, it is eternal, it is unchangeable, not subject to change. It is permanent. It is the only truth in this universe. Everything is subject to falsehood. What changes is not true. Truth is the unchangeable entity. Truth is the eternal, universal, unchangeable, indestructible thing or entity, and that is only God. Everything is subject to change. Therefore, God is present in all his creations. So, what are his creations? The major creations of God may be classified under 4 categories. See, what are the 4 categories? One is matter. See here the universal creations. Types of universal creations. These are the 4 categories of universal creations, of God's creations. In the entire universe, all his creations may be classified into these 4 categories: matter, inanimate things, or objects. The second category, plants, trees and herbs. Third category, animals, what we call as beasts. The dogs, cats, lion, etc. And 4th category, human beings. So the totality of divine creations, God's creations, may be classified under these 4 categories. And Hegel says, in each of these creations, divine creations, God is present. God is present as consciousness. Because without the will of God, without the presence of God in any of his objects, an object can never be formed. Without his will, nothing can take form, nothing can exist, nothing can continue to exist, nothing can survive. This is a religious belief that God is present in each of his creations. God is present as consciousness is in matter. Even in this duster, God is present. In this table, God is present. This is the matter, non-living entity. God is present in plants. In the trees that you see outside the window, God is present there as trees, as consciousness. Therefore, the trees, they live. They have a life. What is that life? Jivana bole jaha kohchu. What is that? It is consciousness. जीवंत बोले जहाँ को it's conscious. And without the presence of God, nothing can have consciousness. And once that consciousness goes out, everything becomes clear. So God is present in plant as consciousness. God is present in universe. God is present in cats, dogs, lions, cows. As consciousness. God is present in human beings as consciousness. In each of us, God is present as consciousness. Therefore, we are able to think. We are able to do our work. We are able to use the organs of this man. We see from something, and this body is a medium. As I was telling you a few days ago, to ask me. Who sees, who eats, who walks? This physical body is the medium, but actually it is consciousness who sees, consciousness which eats, consciousness which walks. So consciousness which is present in us gives us directions to move, to do some activities. It is because of the presence of consciousness the trees grows from root to become a very large plant. Without that consciousness, everything is dead. But that consciousness which is present in all his creations, in matter, in plants, in animals, in human beings, they are present in different degrees. In matter, superficially you may call it non-living. It doesn't have consciousness. No. Even scientists approve it. That in the atom, there is the atomic energy. What is that atomic energy? If you break this cluster, atomic energy will come out. But you must know the technique or mechanism how to break the cluster to bring out the atomic energy. That is what the scientists represent. It is from matter that energy they are drawing. It indicates the presence of God even in case of matter. But God is present in matter in a dormant way. That's consciousness. Consciousness is dormant, latent. Consciousness is not active in case of matter. To make the matter active, to make the consciousness present in matter active, you must harness the matter. You must make use of the matter. You must break the matter. And that is what our religious scripture says. It is from Stamba, that Nrsimha came out. How? God is present even in walls, even in pillars. It is from pillars that God came out. That's consciousness. In a dead night form. Look at it night form. That consciousness which is present in the pillar came out in the form of a machine. But the pillar must be broken so that the energy will come out. God is there for that energy. So the energy must be harnessed to make the matter active. Normally, God's consciousness, which is present in the matter, is dormant. But that consciousness of God, which is present in the matter, becomes increasingly greater and more active. When you look at plants, when you look at animals, when you look at human beings. Compared to matter, God's consciousness is found greater in plants. But plants are not able to move, but they are able to grow. If you break a branch of the plant will feel it. See here the consciousness. You can take scientific experiments and find it for yourself. When you pluck a fruit from the tree feels it. So God is present in plant, but the consciousness of plants, the consciousness in plant is greater than the consciousness in matter. In universe, there is also presence of God as consciousness, and that consciousness is greater in universe compared to plant and the matter. Therefore, animals are able to move. But they are not able to think. Consciousness is lower there. But in case of human beings, that God's consciousness, which is present in human beings, is certainly the greatest compared to matter, plants and animals. Therefore, human beings are capable of thinking. This is the presence of God. Without His presence, nothing can take place, nothing can emerge. And that consciousness is present in all His creations. That is why God is called as omnipresent, present in everything. Omniscient, God sees everything. And God is also omnipotent. These are three English words we can use. Omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. All powerful. God is universal consciousness, who is the ultimate reality of this universe, who is the ultimate creator of this universe, is omnipotent, almighty, powerful, all powerful, because He is the creator. He is beyond control of anyone. He cannot be controlled. No one can control God, because He is the only reality. He only exists. Everything are His creations. He can destroy His creations. He can create new creations. And the entire universe is created because of His will. He desires, and therefore He creates. And in each of His creations, He is present. You can see such a line of thinking even in our Hindu scriptures. See here how the orthodoxy of Christianity, Catholicity of Christianity was challenged, protested, and a new type of interpretations of God has been made by Hegel under the influence of Spinoza and Immanuel Kant. And this philosophy is almost identical with the Vedantic philosophy of life. Look at Gita, find the same thing. What Krishna says in the Gita, Aham Atma Gudake Sasako Bhuta Saresti. I am present in everything. In everything, in every object, I am present, he says. Aham Atma Gudake Sasako. How? In the form of Atma, in the form of consciousness, in the form of soul. Again he says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesarjuna Tishtati. God is present in the heart of every being as consciousness. Because without Him you cannot think, you cannot move, you cannot do anything. You have no action to undertake. You have no existence. You live because of His presence. And therefore we must realize the creations, we must understand the creations. How helpless we are. We think to be very powerful. No, we are nothing. We can do nothing. We are so helpless. We do not have any independence. We dance according to the tunes of God. Because it is He who dances us, or makes us dance, makes us work, makes us play our roles and activities. This is the truth of life, and this is the only truth. Everything is false. And the name of falsehood is Maya. Everything is Maya. Because everything is subject to change. What is that? If it changes, it is Maya. It is an illusion, therefore. This body is an illusion. This table is an illusion. This room is an illusion. It can never remain permanent. It is subject to death, destruction, change. So we consider illusion as a truth and truth as illusion. That is our defect. We must realize what is truth. And we must see what is illusion. And I can take care of it. Each of us is therefore a Maya. This is the truth of life. But we run after money. We run after good houses. We run after good food. All this one. Because this body will not live forever. It will die. What is the utility of money if you keep in bank balances? And therefore do good to others. Love the entire creations. That is the requirement of human. So God is present in human beings to the highest extent as consciousness. Consciousness is present to the greatest extent in man, human beings. And therefore human beings are considered as the highest of God creation, divine creation. See here, the concept of human beings are taken. Human beings are the highest of divine creations because God is present only in human beings to the highest extent as consciousness. It is dormant in matter, it is present to a low extent in plants, again to a low extent in animals, but to a highest extent in man, human beings. So God is present in human beings as consciousness to the highest extent. God is the creations of human beings. God created human beings, and God is present in human beings to the greatest extent as consciousness. And therefore, what are the qualities of that consciousness which is present in human beings to the greatest extent? What are the qualities? How can we identify the fundamental qualitative attributes of that consciousness of God which is present in human beings to the greatest extent? Hegel says that God's consciousness and the qualities that characterize that divine consciousness are also present in human beings' consciousness to the greatest extent. Consciousness is identical. We are not different from God. We are part of God's consciousness. There is part of the divine in each of us to the greatest extent, and therefore we are called as human beings. We are certainly gifted that God has given us the form of a human being. God has not made us dogs or cats or lions or plants or matter. It is the goodness of God, it is the grace of God that He has made us human beings, giving us birth as human beings. Don't think that you have that independence of being born as a human being. You have no independence at all. If you desire, can you be born as a human being in your next birth? No. You may be a cat, you may be a dog, you may be a tree, or you may be a stone. This is our state of life. So in this life, God has given us this human form, this human body, present in us to the highest extent as consciousness. So be a human being, don't be a dog or a cat. Or don't be a pig, घुसरी ना हो, मनुष्य हो. ये जन्म आकर नहीं मिले. बहुत जन्म तो भगवान सत्कर्म कर दियो डायरेक्ट मनुष्य जन्म. So don't misuse the present life. Do good things. Earn punya, not papa. Do you know what is papa and what is punya? Purupakaraya punyaya papaya parapidana. This is what Mahabharata says. Purupakaraya punyaya papaya parapidana. If you do harm to others, that is papa. And you must be punished. So do not do harm to others, either in thought or in words or in deeds. If you do harm, you will be punished. You must suffer equally. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, science says. You must reap whatever you do. There is no escape. So, papaya parapidana. And what is punya? Purupakaraya punya. If you do good to others, that is punya. And that is like a human. So, be a human being. Do not do harm to others, either in thinking or in words or in deeds. Kahi gadi nahi deo. Kahi pitaputi nahi karo. Physically assault nahi karo. Kaha manare kashto nahi deo. Don't think ill of others. Chinta rahi tum karo. Anishtu chinta nahi karo. This is the truth of life. If you do so, you have to suffer. In this birth and also in subsequent births. आशीर्वाद खाली ये जन्म रे नहीं ना. अनंत काल रो अच्छे अनंत काल पर्यंत जीवा. समझते. खाली आशीर्वाद नहीं. We are changing the forms, but we are present as consciousness. Consciousness is not subject to death. Atma ketali ne more. Sarira ta destruction है. Sarira is subject to death. But that consciousness, that is the ultimate reality, that is indestructible, and therefore it doesn't die. Nainam chindante sastrani, nainam dahati pavaka. Gita says. It doesn't burn, it cannot be burned. It cannot be cut into pieces. It is not subject to death and destruction. It is permanent, eternal, universal, present forever. From the beginning of this universe till this universe continues. We are present, but in different forms. In this birth, see, he is Asirvad. Next birth, he may be someone else. But he is present. That I is present. Who is that I? I am not this body. This is my body. My body, this is my house. My means I'm not house. House is different, and I am different. I live in the house. I live in this body, but I am not this one. So this body is a guest house. And you change the guest house very frequently. Birth after birth. This is the truth of life. You must realize it. And this is the truth because this is unchangeable. This is eternal. This is universal. So Hegel, so what Hegel says, that in God's creation, God, who is the ultimate reality of this world, of this universe, God is therefore the ultimate creator of this universe. God is present as consciousness, universal consciousness, eternal consciousness, indestructible consciousness. That God is present in all His creations and is present to the greatest extent in human beings. And therefore human beings are His highest creations, divine creations. And that is the reason why Hegel considers man as essentially a divine being. Man is a divine being because man is the highest of God's creation and God is present in human beings to the highest extent as consciousness. So what is the nature of that consciousness? What are the qualities of that consciousness? Consciousness of God and consciousness of human beings. So far as God as consciousness is concerned, Hegel says, the essence of God is freedom. God is termed, that universal consciousness is termed by Hegel in German language, in German word, known as gist. Gist is, its English translation is God. So Hegel is of the opinion that gist of God, which is universal consciousness, the essence of that gist or universal consciousness is freedom. See, the point is the distinguishing attributes of that universal consciousness, which is also present in man to the greatest extent. In Hegelian conceptualization, the essence of gist, meaning that by God, is freedom. God is freedom, he says. Why? Why God is freedom? Because God is the ultimate creator. He is free. No one can control you. He is not subject to the control and influence of anyone. Therefore, he is free. No one can restrain him. He is unrestrained in his thinking, in his activities, in his way. There is absence of restraint, absence of interference, absence of control. No one can control him, no one can restrain him. Whatever he thinks, whatever he wills, he does. He is the ultimate creator. Because he is the ultimate creator, he is free. By freedom we mean absence of restraint. There is no interference. So Hegel says, God is absolutely free, completely free. No one can control him. He is free from control, free from interference, free from restraint. Therefore, God only enjoys and exercises absolute freedom, complete freedom. And that is why the essence of gist, that universal consciousness, is freedom. And as the ultimate creator, God is absolute. God is unlimited. God is all powerful. God is almighty. God is omnipotent. And because he is free, completely free, at the same time, he is omnipresent, present in all human beings. Therefore, God, who is present in all human beings, does not discriminate, doesn't exploit, doesn't do violence to anyone. See here, what type of wrong concept you have. भगवान होते इतने दुख देते ना, नो भगवान नहीं, तुम्हें नीचे नीचे दो उसको, भगवान तुमको दुख नहीं देगा. Because God is present in you, He does not discriminate. Rather, He treats all His creations equally. See here the quality of God. He is absolutely free. Freedom is His distinguishing quality, and from freedom there is to be derived the attribute or quality of equality. So God is present in all human beings. So God treats all human beings with equality. He does not discriminate. Rather, He loves all His creations. If you do some good work, do divine thinking and activities, God will be pleased. If you see all His creations with equality, without any discrimination, God will be pleased. On the contrary, if you do violence in thinking, activities, words, God will be very angry with you. He will dislike it. Therefore, God, who is present in all human beings, also cherishes and champions the value of equality. At the same time, He loves all His creations, all human beings, and therefore characterized by the value or quality of fraternity. So liberty, equality and fraternity taken together, synthesized together, characterizes that universal consciousness has distinguishing qualities. Liberty, equality and fraternity. These three words, values we use in our constitution. From where we have got it? You must understand the fundamentals so that you can understand life and living. ये सब दिन सब गंजे खाई करी ना लेके ही गए. All these have very practical implications in our very day-to-day life, in ordering our socio-political life. All these have tremendous implications in conditioning our thinking and behavior. So, universal consciousness, what Hegel terms as God, is essentially characterized by the value of freedom or liberty, equality, and fraternity. These are godly qualities, divine qualities. Divine attributes. What do we mean by divinity? These are the qualities. If you cherish in your life the values of liberty, equality and fraternity, you are divine, you are a man, you are a human being, you are rational, you are moral. What is meant by morality? To do good to others. And morality issues from your rationality, that you must not discriminate but love. At the same time, you must treat everyone with freedom. You must consider every individual, your fellow human beings, as an aid in himself. You must not exploit. You must not do harm to others. There must be universal brotherhood, fraternity, complete fraternity, love and affection, peace and tranquility. That is what is meant by it. So God is a synthesis of the values of liberty, equality, and fraternity. These are godly qualities. And these godly qualities are present in, or must be present in human beings, because human beings embody the highest of God's consciousness. Therefore, man as a divine being must cherish and practice these godly values or divine values or attributes. He must cherish the value of liberty, must cherish the values of equality, must cherish and practice the values of fraternity. Then only he can be called a human being in the true sense. So what is the true self of the individual? True self of the individual is a divine self, is divine in essence. So we must analyze and understand ourselves as the highest of God's creation. There is a spark of the divine in us. Because God is present as consciousness, we are living. The moment this consciousness go down, we would be dead. So we must make use of, to the best of our ability, these divine qualities of. We must cherish the divine values of, the godly values of liberty, equality, in our thinking, in our activities, in our practice, in our interpretations. Then only we will be called human beings in the true sense of the term. Otherwise, we are beasts. So our true self is the divine self, and divine self therefore imbues with the values of liberty, equality, and freedom. And therefore, Hegel says, man is essentially divine. That is, the divine self is the true self of the individual is his divine self. The essence of the individual is his divinity. His godly qualities. And on this concept of human nature, that Hegel seeks to build about his students. We shall discuss it in subsequent months. Continuable discussion. Doubts in any questions? Any question? Any doubt? All right, we shall be meeting and again on Monday. Class has spoken. Has spoken. Inform me if you are absent. Because I did not come here and spend the time. So we have to discuss from second unit of this syllabus political thought of G.W.F. full name George William Frederick Hegel.